You're listening to the Build, Buy, Sell Agency Podcast, and this episode is part of our Agency Leader Series. My name is Shane Perkins, and I'm best known for leading acquisitions, deal making, and financing for Unite Digital, a unique and growing agency network specifically positioned to serve mid-market clients across the U.S. And I'm talking to mid-size agency owners across the marketing and advertising spectrum to uncover their top mind shifts, lessons learned, and insights that help them grow and manage their agency, as well as give you a chance to learn what partner and deal opportunities they are looking for right now that you can reach out about to explore possibilities to work together. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Build, Buy, Sell Agency Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Shane Perkins, and this is part 2 episode with my guest, Scott Harkey. He's a co-founder and managing partner of OH Partners, one of the fastest growing independent marketing agencies in the U.S., located in Phoenix and Los Angeles. Great to have you back on, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me, Shane.
Absolutely. You know, on the last episode when we talked, you were talking about how you and your co-founder hired a CEO and what impact that had on the agency. Yes. Let's go right in and tell me all about it.
Absolutely. So what the hell were we thinking? We hired a boss as crazy marketing entrepreneurs. It was scary for us, honestly, but we knew we didn't have a ton of experience running a large agency, and we knew that we were at some point going to be a much bigger agency than we were at the time. And like all things in life, timing and opportunity kind of match up. And we met Brad Casper, our current CEO, who was former CEO of one of the largest companies in Phoenix, which was the Dial Corporation, which then became the Henkel Corporation out of Germany. And he ran major CPG brands like Dial soap, obviously, Right Guard deodorant, and a ton of other national CPG brands. They had over 2,000 employees, and he was managing a major P&L. He also had an extensive background at Procter & Gamble. And, we as marketers know that Procter & Gamble is one of the largest, brands, buying advertising in the world. And so just someone that had marketing experience from a client perspective, but also someone who knew how to run a major company. We weren't real disciplined on performance reviews. We weren't disciplined on go-to-market strategy. We weren't really disciplined on the people part of our business. I mean, we were still a good place to work. We were a typical agency. We had the cold brew coffee, and we had happy hours, and we had outings and ball games, and we were a good place to work.
Now, what size were you at that point?
We were probably about 40, 50 employees.
Okay.
All in Phoenix at the time. And, we thought we were doing really well, but, you don't know what you don't know until you have a real professional CEO working with you in an organization. And he really taught us a lot of the disciplines that make great companies. And he taught us what not a good culture can do, but what a great culture can do. I'm a big fan of Southwest Airlines, and they treat their employees great. And in return, the employees of the company treat customers great. And so that's what we found, is that the better we've treated our employees, and the more we've shown them a path for growth and promotions and performance reviews and transparency in terms of our numbers, the better that they've treated our clients and the better work that we got for our clients. And so it's been a huge thing for us. I think a lot of agencies, myself was included at this time, was, we have a great culture. Well, do you really have a great culture? You probably have a good culture, but I think there's a lot of the disciplines of managing people that us as agency people don't get super excited about. For me, I get excited about the strategy and the work and the campaigns and the new business and the marketing of the agency, not necessarily performance reviews, but they're extremely important. One major KPI for us is Glassdoor. A lot of agencies, myself included, were like, oh, stupid Glassdoor. It's for millennials. They just slam you. There's nothing good from Glassdoor. Well, we've actually embraced Glassdoor and used it as a major KPI for how healthy our culture is. Right now, we have one of the highest rated agencies on Glassdoor, not just in the Southwest, but in the nation. And we don't compare ourselves on a Glassdoor for other competitors in the market, but what are some national agencies that we aspire to be? The Wyden Kennedys, the Droga Fives, the 72 and Sunnies. What's their Glassdoor ranking, and where do we stack up against them? Because let's face it, we are in a talent war, and every great person in this business can work either brand side or they can work for agencies all over the world. And we need to convince them to uproot their family, and a lot of times, and move to Phoenix, Arizona, or Las Vegas, some of our corporate headquarters. And that's hard to do. And we need to retain talent because it's expensive when you lose talent. The agency business today, and this is from the 4As, which we're members of, the average turnover rate for an ad agency is 30%. The 4As doesn't even like to report on it because it is so extraordinarily high. And that's frankly unacceptable for our industry. And that costs you a lot of money when you lose people. And I hear clients all the time say, yeah, I was working with 3 different account managers in the last 2 years, or 3 different director of account services. And now the creative director's gone. And that's really hard on clients when they have to see turnover at the agency. So for us, at one point in time, we had an agency turnover rate of less than 5%. It's gone up a little bit in the last year. I think we're hovering around regretted turnover around 10%. But 2 big KPIs for us is regretted turnover and Glassdoor rankings. There's other ways to evaluate your culture, and I know agencies like us all submit best places to work and things like that, and those are great things to win, of course. But I think for us, we've been able to dive in deeper to really try to find out how healthy our culture is.
It's interesting because when I look at actual companies to go see if they're valid candidates for acquisition, I go to Glassdoor.
Yep.
I see what the employees are saying, and so I mean, it's everybody's judging you,
100%. Yeah, and then look, you're going to have negative reviews on Glassdoor, right?
Yeah.
If you're a restaurant, you're going to have negative reviews on Yelp. If you're a hotel, you're going to have stuff on TripAdvisor you don't agree with. But do you have more positive than negative? And what's the average rating? And the big thing on Glassdoor is ranking of their CEO.
Yes.
And let me tell you, the ranking of our CEO today is much higher than it was when my co-founder and I were CEOs. That's hard. That's a hard truth, right? But in good to great, it's like, do you have the right people on the bus, and are they on the right seat? And I think as co-founders or as CEOs, we don't like to consider ourselves as not in the right seat. But I think for us, when we did that, we were able to bring that down to other levels of our organization and see if other people were in the right seats. And I can talk to people and say, listen, I've had to realize I've not been in the right seat at times too. So, we might be moving you to a different seat, but it's strategic, and it's to put you in a position of strength, not necessarily work on your weakness, but put you in the best position to succeed at the company and what you're passionate about.
So I think there's so many action steps here that an agency owner could take.
Yeah.
How do they know they should get another CEO to take them out and put them in a better position?
That's a great question. I can tell you for us, I know what I think. I've had to get a lot of self-awareness, and that's a hard thing to do and learn. For me, I've gone to a lot of leadership boot camps and professional development, therapy, yoga. I mean, you name it. And I think it's allowed me to get more self-awareness on what I'm really good at and what I'm best at, and frankly, things that I'm not great at. Okay. And for me, I also found out what I'm most passionate about, right? So I'm really passionate about, envisioning what the agency of the future looks like. How can our agency be structured to serve brands in today's marketplace, which I think I told you earlier that the dissatisfaction rate of CMOs today of agencies is above 85%. I think last I saw was like 87%. I don't know where I saw that, but agencies have not modified their services to fit the demand of the current CMOs and the struggles that they have in their organizations. Being a CMO is a really tough job, and they need agencies in a number of different ways. And it comes down to talent too. I mean, they need agencies that have great talent that they can't have in-house. And so I think for me, I knew I was passionate about strategy and getting new accounts and pitching accounts and figuring out what the agency of the future needed to be. So I can still be a visionary for our company, but I have to do it with a CEO that has some checks and balances to some of the crazy that I want to do. And that's hard, right? Because a lot of times he's woeing me back. And sometimes it is absolutely needed. Other times I may not agree with it. And I think we need to go in certain areas, and we need to go in certain areas fast because this is a competitive business and because the changing needs of brands evolve so quickly. That can be hard. It's not as slow as we like. I think a lot of agency owners that I meet, and I meet a lot of them through, I'm in a 4A's group where I meet 2 times a year with agencies all over the country, agency owners for a couple of days, and we talk about issues and problems, and we show numbers, profitability. I mean, everything. I mean, everything's on the table. And what I see in a lot of agency owners is we're kind of gunslingers in a way, right? We see a problem and we want to roll in and like fix, or we see an opportunity with a client. We're like, we have like Superman complex, it's like, let me fix this. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. And I think the right professional CEO can help you be more methodical about choices. One of the biggest things I learned from Brad is strategy is not deciding what you're going to do. It's actually more importantly deciding what you're not going to do. And for me, I want to do everything. I want to compete and have the best services. I mean, most agencies have between 25 and 35 different service offerings, and we're not good at all of them. We're good at some of them.
Right.
And so really being selective on what you're going to compete at from a new business standpoint, what services you're going to offer, what accounts you're going to go after, and being methodical about that is tough. And I think it requires a lot of collaboration within the agency. And I think it also requires empowering your people inside the organization to make decisions and not have what I call Superman complex, where you want to go do everything yourself. You want the credit. You want to be first in market. You want to go, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs who aren't formally educated, which a lot of them aren't. We have too much ADD to be formally educated. I have learned not by necessarily strategy, but by mistakes. And I optimize my mistakes as fast as I can. And so I think other people that provide, whether it's a CEO or other people within your organization, to provide input to make a decision together is difficult, but it can be really fruitful for an agency because you make less mistakes and you make less big mistakes.
Sounds like you not only found an advantage for the organization by having a CEO shift in, but for yourself, seems like you're much more confident about what you're doing now and the role that you have.
Correct. But again, it's hard. It is, it comes with drawbacks, right? Because you have to have hard conversations. I mean, we have 4 partners out the agency. Our CEO is a partner at the agency. And we have to be aligned on major initiatives for the agency. And then we have to also get our executive leadership team aligned with major decisions at the agency. Building consensus is difficult and can be draining because it takes time. And as an entrepreneur, a lot of times if you see an opportunity and you can't go grab it right away, it can be really frustrating. And so that's taken me some time to realize what the process can be and how that can be successful in getting everybody bought into a decision. So it's not you running up a hill and saying, everyone, come on guys, let's go. It's getting everyone excited, aligned, and running up a hill together.
I want to go into some of your new business insights. Since
Yeah.
You've been emphasizing that. How do you win the new business game?
It's a tough game for me. And what we've done is you try to play a game you can win, and you don't follow rules. So, for us, I mean, everybody knows the RFP cattle call, and everybody knows that, a lot of big clients can be obtained through an RFP, but it's expensive. It's really competitive. And so being selective on what RFPs you go after is, I think, imperative. And having a KPI for what your win rate will be in a competitive RFP situation. A lot of people say, I'm not doing RFPs. I don't think that's the answer. I think you can win a lot of big business doing RFPs and even cold RFPs if you have the right talent and experience to compete in that space. But that can't be all of your new business strategy. You have to have multiple efforts. So I'm still a big fan of outbound working relationships, working national events, and giving thought leadership, doing speeches, and finding what I call net new logo opportunities that aren't an RFP situation. It's probably a project that you're working 2 to 3 years with relationships in the business. And a lot of times you don't have an RFP. You do a project, and then you do another project, and all of a sudden you have retainer business from major clients. And it's not an RFP situation. That needs to be a big part of a new business strategy. New products and acquisitions can be other legs to that stool, but as you know, that's difficult, and it's difficult for agencies to pretend we're M&A people. We're not. So I think outbound is very difficult. Most agency owners that I talk to, when they focus on outbound and they make that a big part of what they do, their agency benefits. And I think it's naive for agency owners to think that they can find somebody to be solely in charge of outbound. I personally believe there's no better person to do outbound than agency owners, because they know how to connect with CMOs. They are typically business people, and they're the best person typically to represent their brand outside the organization. Even if you're not an extrovert, even if you're an introvert, I think a big part of agency owners' jobs needs to be outbound and needs to be driving new business, because it's imperative to the growth of the agency. Because we know in the agency business, the moment you get a client is the moment you start losing a client, unfortunately. And you can't keep everybody, right? Yeah, you can't keep everybody. And even if you do the best job in the world, there's political factors that you can't control that are reasons you could lose an account that has nothing to do with your work or what you've done for the brand you're representing. So RFPs, speaking engagements, major national events, industry events. So if you're we do a lot of CPG work. So we go to a lot of CPG conferences, and we have a lot of thought leadership on CPG. We do a lot of hotel and casino work. So we're very active in the hotel and casino conferences and thought leadership. I like personally representing industries and showing yourself as an expert in those industries, but that doesn't mean you can't take clients in other industries. It just means you focus on a few industries that you have capabilities and case studies in, because I think your win rate will be higher.
So for you guys, in terms of where you're heading in the future, what are your growth goals over the next few years?
Yeah, we want to continue growing. We think that there is a lot of dysfunction in the ad agency space nationally, which is great for us. We think that there's a lot of what I would call, and this is terms probably overused, challenger brands that aren't the biggest companies in the world, but are competing against the biggest companies in the world. And they want, from what I've seen, an integrated agency that has lots of different tools in the toolbox that can get in the trenches with them and compete against, well-funded brands. And they have to have speed to market. They have to have great talent. They have to have great services. They have to have great creative. And so we're focused on brands, call it $2 billion a year to $5 billion a year, right? Yeah. So still large companies, but not the biggest companies in the world. Let WPP and Omnicom and IPG, let those guys battle it out for those clients. And then the clients that would be, a smaller fish in their world come to us, and they'd be a big fish for us. I've lost more business to smaller agencies with smaller brands than I have to bigger agencies. I like competing against bigger agencies more than I would a smaller agency. I actually think smaller agencies who are hungry for the business, who do great work, who will work hard for brands, have a better chance of winning that business than big agencies.
This is what we're battling with, for example.
Yes.
You guys are pursuing fully integrated. We're pursuing a network of agencies that have complementary capabilities.
Correct.
We focus on mid-market clients too.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on client beliefs on what they really want?
I really think speed to market is a big thing. And for me, I'm just looking for a way to differentiate versus who I'm going against. So if I know I'm going up against, WPP agencies, which we have, or IPG agencies or Publicis agencies, those agencies have their media split out, right, in a separate company. So from a speed to market standpoint and from an integrated campaign standpoint, I think they have a little tougher time from a speed standpoint, because they have a media group, and then they have the creative group and the strategy group, and they're together, but they're separate, right? So what we're selling is we can have our media people and our media strategists with our brand strategists, with our account team, with our social team, our PR team, all together in one room executing a campaign that's going to go across all channels. I mean, all campaigns today aren't just one thing, right? It's social and it's digital and it's PR, and it's an integrated effort that I think makes a great campaign. It's like a great sandwich, right? It's not, one thing in the sandwich. It's all the things that make up a good campaign. We can provide that. Now, are we the best SEO agency in the world? No, we're not. Are we okay at it? Yeah. Do our brands that we work with, do I think they care if we're best in class in all 35 different potential services that we offer? No. They care, are we going to drive their business? Are we going to make them money, right? Yeah. Are they confident that we can do that? And are we going to respond to the market with speed and efficiency and strategy? And so that's how we're positioning it. We're working on a brand positioning statement for our agency to really quantify what we do and how we make companies money. I think creative agencies have a hard time doing that. Oh, yeah. So we're working that. We feel like at our best, what we do for brands is we make people love them. And we understand that the more people love brands, and I hate calling them consumers, right? They're people. And the more consumer love or brand love that we can create, it will exponentially create more money for them, because they'll have brand advocates, not customers. Got it. And that's every touch point. And we look at opportunities across every touch point. And at our best, we've created this love people have for the brands they're aligned with, and ultimately they spend more money. That's why Arizona Lottery, one of our clients, did $1 billion this year in sales. When we took them over 2.5 years ago, they did $700 million in sales. Wow. How do you quantify great creative? I think when you see people buying more of the products, and you see more engagement on social, and you see people actually have an emotional attachment to the brands that we represent. And so we're trying to quantify that a little bit more, but it's not just this great hyper-focused digital campaign. It's not the great TV campaign, the TV spot that we did. It's everything in combination of what we've done to make people, to create what we would call brand love.
Give me just a little bit of overview about your agency's size, how you break out in terms of capabilities you have, and then the industries you focus on.
Yeah, so we're today about 150 people. We should do close to $100 million this year, top line, maybe more. I mean, we're projecting, different things in the pipeline right now that we're working on. So it could be 90 million, could be 120 million. And, I think at our core, strategy is certainly always at our core. Connection planning, real good brand strategy planning people that can tie, culturally relevant trends with key assets that brands have, and creating content around those, and then figuring out a distribution model for that content, whether it's social, television, billboards, in-store, email, all consumer touch points. So we have a film company called Matter Films that's been around now about 2 years, which is doing amazing work. That's one of the best things that we've ever done is create our film company. We can create a $1 million, long form piece of content documentary that could run on Netflix, or we could create a $2,000 social media, content package that somebody needs. So it gives you that versatility. It gives you speed to market. We found that when we were hiring a lot of production companies, we were directing and doing most of the work anyway. We had a lot of really good production people in our market, and we recruited them to come over. And So Matter Films has now about 10 to 12 people, and then a bunch of freelancers that we work with to scale up and downs of the production business. We have a polling and research company called OH Predictive Insights. We have a analytics platform called OH IQ, which we're really proud of, that helps us try to figure out multi-point attribution, which I'm telling you, nobody has it figured out. I mean, I talked to key executives at Google. They don't have it figured out. So people at home, like that are listening, if you think that, you're frustrated like I am around our analytics product, you're not alone. But I think we need to figure out, we need to do a better job with that as, I think, an industry of proving out what we're doing and looking at what some insights are in all sorts of different data, whether it's sales data, social data, traditional media buy data, to try to find how we're affecting brand love. And then, of course, strategy, media buying, digital buying, website development, app development. You name it. I mean, we try to have some expertise. I mean, there's, of course, one-off stuff. I mean, we haven't fully built out, augmented reality at this point, but, down the road, maybe we have a product that's very augmented reality based. I don't know. Trying to find out where the puck's going in terms of what services brands need, is a moving target. But yeah, PR, I think, is still a big service offering that some agencies are missing, frankly. How PR and social and creative need to be integrated and tied together, I think has been a big challenge for agencies, and one we're still working on. And I think we've made a lot of improvements there, and I like where we're at. But that's still a moving and changing space. Graphic design and 3D animation. I mean, really trying to find out, what brands are asking for. What people forget is brands now are in the agency business, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. I now have more. I have now more in common with CMOs than ever before, because they're running an agency and I'm running an agency, and I can literally go to somebody and feel their labor pains and say, hey, I know you've built up a big marketing organization in-house. Frankly, I would too, because you need speed to market and you need control. It's not just about cost. Where are some gaps in your organization? And maybe I can help find that talent, or maybe I have existing talent to fill in gaps of your organization. And I'm not a large publicly traded agency that needs to have an AOR retainer globally for your account. I need to help find some problems that you have and solve them with speed. And so that's kind of how we're approaching marketers' problems today. And I think we'll continue to grow. I think we'll get more project work and less retainer and AOR work. And that's okay. We're about 60-70% AOR retainer based today, and about 30% project. I see more and more projects in our future. But there could be a time where in-house, the pendulum of in-house maybe swings back, and then I'll have more retainer business. I'm not sure, but I think we're trying to be flexible to marketers' needs and problems.
I want to comment on something. As you're a fairly young guy compared to a lot of the other owners. So how do you grow? I don't know if there's a quick summary for it, but how do you grow up to $100 million agency? Well, have you guys been running it 10 years? Is that what it is?
Yeah, just over 10 years.
Okay, yeah. How do you do it in 10 years when, let's face it. There's you already know the state of most agency owners right now.
Yes.
And they're still staying small.
Yeah.
What has helped provide that steady growth?
I think for us, encouraging our people and myself to be uncomfortable, and challenge, what we're doing every day, and challenge what's possible. What's been inspirational to me is I look at other agencies national. I'm like, okay, great. We've built one of the biggest agencies in the Southwest, definitely the biggest in where market we started in Phoenix. But, Droga 5, is 10 years old or 11 years old. 72 and Sunny's not that old. Mm-hmm. There's other agencies, look at what Vandercheck Media has done. He's not that old. He started about the same time we did. So there's agencies that are crushing it. There's agencies that get it and are growing really fast. There's other agencies I talk to that are complaining and saying, this in-house thing sucks, and this sucks, and that sucks. And they're being pessimistic about the business, and they're not doing well. I think anything's possible in this business, and that's what makes it so fun. Is you don't need a lot of capital to start an agency, but you have to work hard and you have to understand the industry, and you have to understand brands' problems. So for me, I think that Association of National Advertisers, the ANA, has been big for me, because I've been able to see firsthand at, like, for example, their Masters of Marketing conference that's in Orlando every year, what challenges brands have, what kind of work are brands doing that they're most proud of, who are these people, what do they look like, how do they make decisions, and then I just try to build talent behind my agency to help support that. And I was just in Cannes last week, going to Cannes. I go to CES, I go to South by Southwest, and just trying to understand the industry and try to talk to a lot of agency owners and see what they're seeing, and then just be just have the guts to react quickly with speed to solving those problems. And I think anything is possible in this business. I mean, look at some of the Cannes Lion winners this year. Some of the work that has been done are by regular people that are just as talented as my people here in Phoenix, Arizona, that happen to work for FCB in New York. We can do the same type of work. It's just, are we building our brand, and are we getting in front of marketers, and are we listening to their problems and coming to them with solutions? If you look at Burger King this year, one of their Grand Prix winners was the McDonald's, it was the Whopper Detour. FCB created an app that allowed people to go into McDonald's, download the app, and get a free Whopper, and then go to Burger King to redeem their free Whopper, which is a crazy freaking idea. Well, that idea happened because some crazy creative director at FCB was determined to find Machado, the CMO at Burger King, and pitch this idea he had. Took him 2 years to get this idea pitched to Burger King. He went back multiple times. They weren't Burger King's agency, but he was passionate about this idea he had for Burger King. And now FCB is one of their major agencies globally. And they won a Grand Prix at Cannes. And he met the guy at Cannes and just pitched the idea. Brands are open to ideas if you find them in the right place, and if you're persistent, and if you have a great idea, and if you're solving a problem and you can drive business. And that's what's been cool is to go to these events. For me, as being someone who's never worked at a big agency, I couldn't get hired at an agency in Phoenix, so that's why I partly started my own. I was a media guy that no one would hire in the agency business. I think when you see that it's like, for me, when going to Cannes this year was like seeing LeBron James and Michael Jordan competing at the highest level, national, globally traded, ad agencies, and watch the game and be like, you know what, like, we can do that. We can come up with these ideas and these campaigns. And even from a digital execution standpoint, some of the digital tech that they used on some of the ideas, we can do that. And other smaller agency owners, they can do it too. The talent gap is not what it used to be. Every agency can hire great talent because, let's face it, publicly traded companies that have to do a lot of reporting, you're working in New York and LA, very expensive markets. You can get great talent. You can have really smart people at your agency, and you can compete with some of the biggest agencies in the world from a talent standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from an idea standpoint, from a technology standpoint. That's pretty awesome. Like, I think there's no better time to be a small agency in this business, because the playing field, let's face it, isn't level, but it's possible. And that's, I think, anybody in this business that's passionate about this business, and if you don't have people that aren't passionate about the business working for you, you have the wrong people, because this is a passion business. And what's cool is when we see what's possible and we believe we can do it, and we do believe we can do it, then I think, honestly, anything's possible. We could go get a contract, a $50 million contract from a large brand today, because I think we have the talent to do it. We have the creative to do it. We have the innovation minded people and curious people to go execute and come up with these campaigns. And that's really cool.
One big variable is biz dev. I mean, if you don't put yourself, you can have the most amazing agency, the best team, but if you don't have the biz dev to go put you in front of those opportunities, it's never going to happen.
You show me 10 failing agencies, and I'll show you 9 of them who have a biz dev problem. And it's frankly just not focus, and it's frankly just not being aggressive. It's not investing in it. And, it gets comfortable, right? You have a couple of good years and you want to get comfortable and not work biz dev and just take care of your clients. That's a disaster waiting to happen, because you're going to have client attrition. And then you're going to have people attrition because you're not investing in your business and they're getting bored. And then it's just a spiraling death. And I see it all the time. That's why there's a ton of regional agencies just kind of, putting along. And because they just haven't, you can make money in this business, and you can get a big client and you can staff appropriately to that client and make money and not reinvest in biz dev. And that's a huge mistake. And I've never wanted to be in that situation where some other young punk is growing his agency and investing in biz dev and going and doing the hard work of those relationships. I mean, going to events and being on boards and charity things and going to auctions and going to CES, like, it sucks. It's hard. But that's what it takes in this business to, I think, succeed in biz dev for sure.
So how, real quick, how are you structured from a biz dev perspective?
Yeah. So I've looked at a lot of different biz dev organizations. Some of my buddies in the business run biz dev for some of the largest agencies in the world. I've asked them every question possible. And they've been, super gracious, and all the biz dev guys, we kind of, we see each other at these conferences and we talk, and it's a hard job, but it's a fun job. So I've seen them structured a lot of different ways. For us, I have a director who, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Like, she, having a good right hand in biz dev, someone who is strategically focused. Megan Jackman, who works with me, a director of business development. I think we have her title something that sounds less salesy than that. Something probably like strategy or whatever. I like calling biz dev people strategy people, because we are, first of all, we develop client strategy. We're not just sales people, we're business people, and we're strategy people. She's been amazing. So I have her on my team. I have another marketing coordinator on my team. I like business development people to be strategy account people. So sometimes your best senior account people, director of account services, director of strategy, make really good business development people. And I'm managing a lot of leads that come internally. So inbound, we have a lot, because of our brand and because of the PR that we do and the things that we do, the thought leadership we do, we get a lot of inbound. So you're evaluating a lot of inbound opportunities and putting together either scope of work or pitches for inbound. And then you're also working outbound. So we're working outbound in key verticals that we have experience, because we tend to win most business in that world. And so I have 3 people, honestly, in business dev. But then we have project managers that help out. I have our director of client services that, if it's in their business unit, so whether if it's hotels and tourism, I have someone that works a lot of hotels and tourism that I bring in, a senior account person. If it's CPG, I have a senior account person that comes in and helps onboard those accounts. So business development needs to be a team effort at the agency. Business development is not one sales guy, and your business development person should not be a salesperson. They should be a marketing strategy person, and you need to have a team. I like calling your business development team like your special forces unit. So who at the agency wants to be on the special forces unit? And by the time it's all said and done, it should be about 7 to 10 people. Partners absolutely included, right? So our CEO, he does a lot of business development. Our chief creative officer, he does a lot of business development. I do a lot of business development. Partners bring in business, and you don't get paid in this business unless you bring in business. And I think people want to just work on accounts, but you need to help onboard accounts. You need to go get accounts. You need to go work relationships. You need to work referrals. So it's a massive strategy. I would tell agency owners today, sit down and write a new business strategy and write a business plan. And then, just like we tell our clients, dedicate a budget to your marketing. And new business is also marketing. So are you going to spend 10% of your gross income on marketing? That's CPG companies spend 15% on marketing. Quick serve restaurants are spending 15%. So dedicate a budget and write a strategy, and then find out who on the team wants to be on that special forces unit. and let everybody know this is a whole agency effort, because no one wants to work extra to do new business, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have performance reviews and bonuses based on profit of the agency. So, when you're working till 10 o'clock at night on a new business pitch, at the end of the year, if we hit our number, which we're transparent with, and you hit all your performance review KPIs, then you're going to get bonused on the money we make. And so I think that's important, of incentivizing people to make new business everybody's job.
Got it. We got to get close to wrapping up here, but
Okay.
I know we could go on for a while.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Business development, one of my favorite topics.
Exactly. I didn't know you were, well, I mean, I kind of expected you were so into it, but I didn't know to what depth. Tell me about the partner and or deal opportunities you guys are looking for to take you to the next level.
Yeah. Certainly we get a lot of calls, private equity and VC, and, who knows if those are real or not. We don't really pay too much attention. We have a great banking partner that provides us, the flexibility for capital that we need. We run a pretty lean organization, really tight books. So from a cash standpoint, we're okay, and we're not really looking for capital for anything. I mean, we've funded our film company ourselves. We funded our Vegas operation ourselves. We look for opportunities to invest in new products for the agencies. We also look at acquisitions to acquire for the agency. We understand from an integration standpoint at our size, we probably can't do more than 1 or 2 acquisitions a year, and we haven't really done much up to this point. But I do think there'll be a time in our business that the new business, what's made us successful in new business 3 years ago won't make us successful today. And what will make us successful in growth 3 years from now won't be the same as what we're doing now. So we knew acquisition at some point has to be more of a serious conversation. The beauty of acquisitions, I think, in the agency space right now is there's a lot of baby boomers that have really good agencies that are looking for an exit strategy and aren't finding a lot of options, I think. So I do think, just purely based on buying accounts and finding ways to exit boomers who've been doing this a long time, I do think there is an opportunity. But finding that right partner, finding the right client mix, finding someone that you trust, finding how you would integrate that, I think becomes challenging. And you have to be really, really picky. I do also think finding services, like I think you mentioned, that you can add on to the agency as a complement as an investment strategy, as a growth strategy, is also an opportunity for us. But again, we're not flush with tons of VC or private equity cash, right? So we can't do a lot of those. At some point, I think we have to be open to a funding partner. I can tell you that, like, people that I talk to in the agency space aren't really excited about 2 of the major options that exist, which is a holding company option or a consulting company option, right? So is it a Deloitte or a PwC? Or is it an IPG or Publicis or Omnicom or WPP? Those have really been the only exit strategies that have existed for a long time in the agency business, although private equity's come on. So I don't know, but I can tell you I'm not super excited about private equity, and I'm not super excited about holding company options. I might be convinced otherwise down the road. But I think if we just focus on doing great work for our clients, continue growing organically, will give us a lot more options in the future. So it's a great question. We have a lot of conversations about it. But I just, culture is so important, and I think rolled into the wrong company or taking the wrong funding partner will destroy culture. And that's absolutely what we do not want to do, because as non-sexy as culture is, when I'm pitching a new client, it's not sexy. I've tried to talk about our culture and pitching new business. They really don't care, unfortunately, but it is super important to the health of the agency. So that's my biggest fear, is finding the wrong funding partner to allow us to do some things to compete at even a larger scale, and it just crushing our culture. And I've seen it happen to a lot of agencies when they've gotten bought, unfortunately, by like a WPP. A lot of people in the agency, they call it kind of a soul killer. And I don't mean that to be critical to the WPPs of the world, but it is kind of the reality in the business of at least what I've seen.
Yeah, there was an acquisition happened of a company that was doing marketing company doing 100 million last year or
Yeah.
2 years ago. This year they're doing, I think, 60.
Wow. Yeah.
Private equity firm acquired them.
Ew,
They
yep.
didn't know the internal ways the business operated. I
Yep.
think the owners phased out.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally understand it. If there's some agency owners running mid-sized agencies now listening to this,
Yeah.
and you're looking for, and they're looking to roll up into an agency like yours,
Yeah.
what would you tell them, or in terms of who you'd be looking for in the future if that was ever an option?
Yeah. That's a great question. Um, I think it comes down to relationships and really being a good fit, right? It's like people ask me for job advice, which I don't know why they ask me for job advice because I wasn't all that hireable when I worked for CBS and others in media. But I always tell people it's like, go to work for someone you know and trust and like, and you can do great work with. Don't worry about the compensation. Don't worry about like, who are you working with and are you passionate about what you're doing? And so for agencies that are looking to get rolled in somewhere, or let's say there's an agency down the road that we wanted to roll into our brand, um, it would be all about like, do we want to work together, right? Like the deal we just did in Vegas, we just opened an office in Vegas with a brilliant guy by the name of John Shadler. He ran a very successful agency for 18 years. He was Steve Wynn's in-house agency for the Mirage for a number of years, knows the casino, gaming, hotel space better than anyone I've ever seen. But bottom line is, I know John. I've known him for years. I like John. He's really smart. He fit within our culture. And so I think that's the biggest thing is just finding like a cultural fit of where you're going if you're getting rolled up or if you're getting acquired. That's what I'm looking for is who would fit well within our organization and do we complement each other would be kind of the second thing. Can I provide more resources and services to things, frankly, they're not great at or that they don't like doing? I find that a lot of agency owners love doing the work. They don't like doing the accounting, the HR, right? The marketing, all the like shit. Frankly, I don't like doing that either. But we have enough scale and size now that we have a lot of that stuff really buttoned up. So if there's an agency owner that's working with, let's say, 2 or 3 really, really sexy brands and have some good contracts and some good relationships, and they want to keep those brands steady and then also maybe bring in a couple leads here and there and work less and have all the headaches of this business taken care of, that'd probably be a good candidate for us, where they could make similar money that they're making now because of the efficiency. They could keep some really attractive brands within our holding company together, and they can still continue to work their Rolodex and bring in other clients that they can get paid off of, and they just have less responsibility, less headaches. They get some capital as they maybe want to do other things or maybe just not work 50 hours, 60 hours a week and make not a lot of money. So those are the kind of deals that I would say we're looking for. And then maybe other attractive markets, or maybe there's some, maybe they're really great at one particular thing that could be a great add-on to our company and the size that we're doing, which isn't crazy big, but it's similar to the holding company's model, except that we would want it to be under one brand and we'd want it to be under one P&L. Because I think the problem WPP got into is they had multiple P&Ls and multiple brands. And they did some efficiency things, which is important, but they didn't have it from one P&L standpoint, and that people weren't all on the same page and people were fighting for business and things like that. I think that's when it gets messy.
Let our listener know what the best way to get in touch with you if they want to explore.
Absolutely. So LinkedIn is great. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Scott Harkey. I'm on Twitter. Certainly email or phone calls are obviously fine too. I'm old school in that regard. So yeah, my email, you could probably put up on your blog, s.harkey@ohpartners.com.
Okay.
Any agency owners out there, I mean, we all have the same labor pains. And so it's fun. I love talking about the business to other agency owners and just sharing ideas. Like I operate similar probably to you, Shane, is in an abundance mindset is, hey, there's plenty of accounts for everyone. I don't operate in a scarcity mindset. I'm happy to help anybody. We may compete someday. We might not. I'm not really worried about it. But I think the more we can talk about the business, the more we can talk about problems, solutions, opportunities, or just even counseling for each other. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I'm happy to have a beer with somebody any day and talk about the agency business.
Thanks for listening to our Agency Leaders series on the Build, Buy, Sell Agency Podcast. Please contact our guests from the links in the episode's show notes if you think there is an opportunity to work together. I recommend mentioning you found them through this podcast episode to catch their attention. Now, if you run a mid-sized agency whose bread and butter are mid-market clients, and you are interested in divestment, exploring your exit options, or driving accelerated growth via strategic collaboration with complementary agency partners, then you may be an amazing fit for our agency network, Unite Digital. Please go to unite.digital/apply to schedule a live discovery call with me so I can understand your goals for your agency and yourself, as well as share the vital benefits of operating within our network at Unite Digital to ultimately determine if you could be a fit to join and thrive within our agency network.